everybody. Thank you for having me. We are learning the first introductory article written by the Bal Ha Sulam, Rabbi Yehuda Ashlag, who wrote his commentary on the Zohar and wrote introductory articles to try to reorient the modern student to understand what Kabbalah is. And so we're going to start from the very beginning, as we're going to go all the way back to the very, very beginning to try to get an overview, because we've been going through the article, but what we're trying to do when we study is not just get the information, we're trying to really change the way we see things. And so for that we need to go over things over and over again so that we start to see things in a different way. So the first thing, before we go to the very beginning, I'm going to start with the Kabbalah of the Ari HaKodesh to explain why God created the world. The first thing I want to say is that why is there so much confusion about Kabbalah? And there's been over the years many, many reasons why people do not study Kabbalah. And so there's so many reasons, but I'm going to give just one, is that you see the Rambam said, one of the greatest halachic masters of all of the history of Judaism, said that he explained the Torah, all the mitzvahs. He said we don't start off by teaching Lishma. Lishma means only for Hashem's sake, that we don't start learning the Torah that way. The way we learn the Torah is first we learn Lo Lishma, which means we give people reasons, selfish reasons that are focused on the person, that to motivate the person, just like a child, to motivate the child to do something, you tell, if you clean your room, you're going to get a cookie. So we are all children, and we have to develop. And so the Rambam says that we don't start teaching the Torah, and it says in the Gemara, the rabbis said in the Gemara, the sages said that they didn't speak in a linear way. They didn't explain things from the beginning to the end. What the rabbis did, if you ever learn Gemara, is they go around and they go into different subjects all the time. So why are they doing that? Why don't they start in a very organized way? And it says in the Gemara that the sages, they're trying to hide things so that a person has to learn for many, many, many years, and once they get a full picture of the thing, they can put it in order. Okay? So the Bal Ha Sulam is doing the exact opposite. The Bal Ha Sulam is coming and saying that you see now, because Mashiach is so close, meaning this point of that all of humanity has to jump in consciousness and learn how to become better than they are, and learn how to be more connected and more loving. We're reaching that point. That's Mashiach. So because of that, you see all the rabbis are saying now something they didn't say 50 years ago, is that it's time for people to learn Kabbalah, and Mashiach is coming, and we have to be more, right? We have to learn the Torah of the redemption, not just the Torah of the galut, of the exile, right? So see that the Bal Ha Sulam understood that this time was coming very clearly. And so he took out all the stops. So what he does is he's teaching you, imagine you have to understand what the Torah is, but he's teaching you the inside of the Torah, meaning the secrets, meaning that he's going to tell you exactly what's going on in an order so you can understand it, okay? And he's not the first person. He's actually explaining the Ari HaKodesh, who's doing the exact same thing. And all the Hasidic masters also, they're doing the same thing. They're trying to get you to understand exactly what's going on, okay? So let's start with the Ari HaKodesh, okay? Because we're going back on. Before we go back into our article, Matan Torah, which is the first article that we learn, I think we have to go to the very, very beginning so we understand what the point of this article is, because it's, I know because of the language, can be a little bit confusing, okay? So what did the Ari HaKodesh say? It said, why did God create the world? Does anybody want to jump in and say why? God created not merciful, no, even before that. God created the world.
Probably to a certain level.
No, it's much more simple. Had a desire. What was the desire? That's afterwards. That's the Hasidim said that. To make a dir b'achtor tonim is another answer that's on top of Kabbalah. Let's not get into that right now. We're talking about what the Ari said is, what's the reason why Hashem created the world? Because he had a desire. And what was the desire? Hashem was all alone, so to speak, and he wanted to give over goodness. He has love, and he wants to give love to somebody. So that is what happened. So then if you start to learn Kabbalah with the Kav, and that the Ari says that God removed himself from a space, so to speak, and then a light came in, all these very Kabbalistic way of talking, but let's talk in English. Let's just talk in a regular way. God had a desire. He said, I want to give love. I want to make somebody happy. Okay, that's why everything we feel is what God feels. God made us in His image, so we feel the same thing. We want to love somebody, and we want to give somebody pleasure, and we want to make somebody happy, right? So this is exactly why Hashem created the world. So immediately you should say to yourself, well, look at the world, it's a crazy place, and there's a lot of suffering, and all this. This is Kabbalah, to explain how we ended up like this, okay? And what we should do about it, okay? It's all exactly a system, and we can learn that system. And when we learn that system, we're going to know how to go. Just like if you want to learn how to mountain climb, you have to learn exactly what the mountain, all the different things, and you can climb the mountain. So that's exactly what we're doing here. So the Ari said God wanted to give over goodness. So the first thing God did is he said he created an entity, a vessel, an existence, a creation that could accept all of this love. Okay? That is called the world of Ein Sof. God made one big vessel. You take a cup, a vessel, and this is every single soul that's in the entire world that's ever going to live, all together, and God gave all the pleasure, boom, into that vessel. That's called the world of Ein Sof, okay? So that sounds like it should be the end of the story. That should be the end of the story. Okay, God had a desire. He could do whatever he wants. He's all powerful and all good. And he said, I want to give over love. So boom. That should be the end of the story. But God had a very high desire for what the gift should be. So we know the first problem, the first issue, and God put it into the recipe. When he made the cake, he made a special thing, he made a problem with the cake, and that's called bread of shame. What does it mean, bread of shame? It means that the created being, even though it's getting all of this pleasure and all of this happiness and all of this love and all of this unity, all the things that God wanted, the creation, all of us, we didn't do anything to earn it. So God wanted to be even higher present. He wanted it to be, not only am I going to give you presents, but I want you to feel that you're in existence who's doing something, and you're like a mensch, you're a man, you're a full person, and you're accepting this thing not by being a charity case, but that you deserve it and that you've worked for it. Okay? So this is what caused all of the cascading world. Now we're not going to go all deep into the Kabbalah. I'm just trying to give you a basic story of where we are. Okay? So there's a few more ingredients that we need to hear about to understand exactly what the whole process is, okay? The first thing is that in order for us to earn what we get, we have to have free will. Because we have to be able to decide, do I want it for free or do I want it to work for it? Do I want to have just the good present or do I want to have the relationship with the one who's giving me the present? Okay? So this is something that Hashem gave to the created beings, that they should feel their own existence. So after the world of Ein Sof, it's called Simsum Aleph. We're not going to go into the Kabbalah, but all of a sudden, when we had that level, we decided, we don't remember this, but all of us collectively, all of humanity, all the people, everything that was existed, everything that was created, decided, I don't want to take from Hashem for free. I want to earn it. So from that moment on, we have free will, because we can decide, do I take it or do I not take it? Okay, this is how the world works, right? If you go somewhere and you don't like this person, and he wants to buy you a beer, what do you say? No, thank you. Right? Or if you think this guy is trying to buy you a beer because he thinks you're going to make a decision in the business tomorrow, that you're going to give him the contract, and you're not giving him the contract. So you say, no, thank you. This is what's going on, okay? So we have this situation. Now there's one more thing, and then we can go to the article, okay? One more piece of this puzzle that we need to understand, and then we're going to really be able to go back to the article, and I think we'll be able to understand much more. Hashem, God, the creator, is a giver. He has everything and he has all the power. So he doesn't need anything from the creation. He didn't create us because he said, I need something. I'm missing something. The desire that Hashem has is a desire out of wholeness, which we don't really understand that. We don't really know what that means. But sometimes you realize when you feel very confident and you feel like you're doing something just because you feel like you're doing it. It's called a king, right? You say, I'm doing it, I want to do it. Why? I decided I want to do it. So Hashem has this quality where he's not trying to get something that he doesn't have. Okay? So when Hashem created the world, he's giving everything, and the thing that he created is just a vessel, just a kli, just a receiver, just an aspect of reception. So Hashem said, I want to give something to somebody. So what did he make? He made us collectively, all of us, and all we want to do is to take, like a baby. You ever see a baby goes like this? Gimme, 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 a newborn baby. So all that we were in this first situation was a desire to get, to receive. Gimme, 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 gimme. There's a problem with that. It's called, in Kabbalah, equivalency of form. Okay? God is giving and we are taking. So what's the problem? Is that we are the exact opposite of the one who we have a relationship with. So if you have a relationship, right, you say, I have this person. I want to be with this person. Why? We both like this kind of lifestyle. We both want to live in the mountains. We both want to have money, but not so much money that it destroys our whole. So you have somebody who's similar to you. That's what makes a lot of the love, is that you feel connection, that you feel we have the same values, we have the same desire. So the problem before the world was created, in the world of Ein Sof, that spiritual worlds, another problem that there was that we had to fix, right? We talk about tikkunim, that Hashem made it this way, that we're going to have to fix it, is that we want to become like Hashem. We want to become similar to Hashem. It's called devekut. Okay, you say, devekus, I want devekus with Hashem. What does devekus with Hashem mean? It means that the same way God is thinking all the time, I want to give to somebody, we should also think like that. So the whole process of creation, all of the simsumim, all of these contractions, all of this cascading worlds, spiritual worlds that end up manifest in a physical world, the material world, where we are now, is all because we're trying to do something. What are we trying to do? We're trying to go back to Hashem. What does it mean go back to Hashem? We're trying to fix the world. What does it mean try to fix the world? We're trying to get back where we're going to have everything that Hashem wants us to have. All the pleasure, all the love, right? Everything, the gift, free will, that we know that we exist and we can see I'm me and Hashem. We can see that there's that it's not just one big blob. We understand I have a name, you have a name, you have a name. We remain our individuality, our free will, our sense of identity. We have that. And then all the work to get all the way back up is so that we can be similar to Hashem. This is Kabbalah. Why? And this is where we can stop because it's going to go more deeper into Kabbalah. How do I achieve this? If I only receive a gift, let's say you're a millionaire, and you want to give me money, you want to give me a whole thing, you want to invite me to your house and feed me and let me swim in the swimming pool and all the great things in the house. I have a problem because you're giving and I'm taking, right? So what's the magic trick? What's the thing that you figure out? What we figured out, the people who Hashem created, the entities that Hashem created, all the vessels that Hashem created, we figured something out. We figured out, wait a minute, Hashem has everything, but he desired to give something over. So I can do something. He wants to give, so I could receive in order to make him happy. Right? It's called L'Shem Shamayim in the frum world. Why am I eating? Because I want Hashem to be happy. I'm keeping in mind that I'm enjoying this chocolate cake, but I want to enjoy the chocolate cake because Hashem is going to enjoy it, that I'm enjoying it. So if you take the chocolate cake and you run away and you just eat it and you just ignore Hashem, then you're not doing it. But if you eat it l'shem shamayim, you're saying, Hashem, I want you to be happy, and I know you want me to eat. You made the cake so that I should enjoy it. That's the way that we get back to Hashem. We have the same similarity of form. It's called. It's making sense. We started learning the first article that the Bal Ha Sulam wrote. He wrote many. You can see the book is like this of so many pages that he wrote to try to get us to think in a different way. Imagine you're looking at the mountain. You're looking up at the mountain. But you also have to look from the top of the mountain down. You see, we have like a Jewish star is like two triangles, two arrows, one pointing up and one pointing down. We wear two pairs of tefillin. One of them, the tefillin, is our feelings about Hashem, our thinking about how do we get to Hashem, and the other tefillin that we wear is thinking about how Hashem looks at us. Right? We learn. They tell you when you're in school, when you're a kid, Hashem also wears tefillin. So what does it mean? Hashem also has if you have a relationship with somebody, you have a way you think about the situation, and then your wife thinks about it in a different way. So what do? You think about it the way you think about it, and then hopefully if you're a good person, or a person who's balanced, and a person who has an ability, you think about how your wife thinks about the situation. So that's what we have to do. We have to start to think about how we feel, but if we think about how Hashem feels, then we can start to put everything together in a way, and we really understand how to have a relationship. Okay, so the Bal Ha Sulam starts off this article. Now you just remember everything that we just learned, the whole primer that we just learned. So don't forget what we just talked about. Now the Bal Ha Sulam comes. I'm going to teach you about Kabbalah. I'm going to teach you all the secrets and tell you everything, how the whole thing works. Okay. The first thing he tells you is very weird. He says that the whole Torah is really loving other people. To learn how to love people, to get the kalim, to get the vessels that I can love you, that I can do things for you instead of doing it just for me. That's the whole Torah. So what are you talking about? It's the whole Torah. It sounds like the most insane thing I've ever heard. We're talking about there's a whole thing with serving Hashem and all the holidays and all the different stuff, and now you're telling me it's only just, all these things are all just things to teach me how to love other people? And so it's not exactly. It's a little bit of an overstatement. What the Bal Ha Sulam is trying to tell us by this first thing that he tells us in this article is it's impossible for you to love Hashem. It's impossible for you to work to love Hashem because we're so far away and we don't see what's going on, that the real way to learn to love Hashem, to work to love Hashem, is to love everybody around you. And as you learn to love other people, and as you become selfless, and as you step outside of yourself, as you do all the Torah mitzvos, and all the Torah mitzvos correspond, the Ariya Kodesh went through the etrog and Shabbos and kosher and washing your hands and all these things, they all correspond to different ways that we think about things and different parts of us and how we relate to each other. So what the Bal Ha Sulam is trying to tell you here is something very beautiful, that if the more I train myself and learn to love other people and see that it's impossible and turn to Hashem and say, I tried, but it's not possible, and then Hashem helps you and He changes you little by little by little. You get the light. It's called the light that reforms. That you do the Torah mitzvahs the proper way with Pnimis Torah, and you have the right chevra, then the right community, the right friends who are your partners in learning Kabbalah. That when the light shines on you, you'll be transformed. You'll be changed. So the Torah is supposed to change you. So what the Bal Ha Sulam is telling you is that each time I work and I overcome my ego, so for instance, let's say I go to a room and I say, I'm smarter than everybody here. I think I'm going to stand up and talk and tell everybody what the best thing is here. Instead I say to myself, you know what? Why don't I be quiet and let somebody else have a turn to speak, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say you're the best at baseball. And you come into the place and you can kill everybody, you can just take over. You don't. You just make room, you step away. That's what Hashem did to make us. Hashem said, I'm going to remove myself from a place, so to speak, the world. He didn't really leave, but he says he stepped away, meaning get quiet, right? To hid himself, hid behind the thing, behind the sun and the moon, however you want to think about it, but that God hid himself from, we can't see him. Why? So that we have an opportunity to talk. If Hashem was here, would anybody talk? If the Lubavitch Rebbe walked in here, would anybody talk? If the Sama Rebbe walked in here, would anybody talk? No, they'd be quiet. You'd say, this is a great person. You take a step back. So Hashem took a step back. So when you take a step back, because you want to reveal Hashem, and because you make space for somebody else, in any way that you can think of it, by time, money, smiling at somebody, any way that you can imagine in your way, to be nice to somebody else, not because you want something in return, just because you want to make space for somebody else. Make a person have some happiness in their life, right? I'll give you a perfect example. Sniut. So there could be a girl, she could be very beautiful, and she decides that she's going to wear something that's not so beautiful. This is a huge act of selflessness. Huge. Let's say you're the most popular guy, and every time you speak, everybody laughs. You make everybody laugh so much, and you go to a place and there's girls there, and everybody's trying to get married, and so you don't tell so many jokes because you realize that you're going to overpower, and the girl's going to look at you instead of looking at your friends, and your friend needs to get married, so you keep quiet like that. This is what we're talking about, and so every time we do that, and we become givers, this is what the Bal Ha Sulam is explaining to us: is that is the way for you to have a relationship with Hashem. That when you do that, it takes away a simsum, it takes away a screen, a machsom. Hashem puts a curtain in front of himself, many curtains, right? Rav Nachman talks about the princess is behind the curtain, right? So he's hiding from us. Hashem is hiding from us. And when you act like Hashem, instead of acting like a taker or receiver, Hashem takes away a curtain. And then you say, oh, I feel Hashem a little bit more. You don't? Not like before, like you have to imagine Hashem and you don't feel him, but you have to have emunah. No, Hashem shows you himself, little by little, step by step, and this is what the Torah is. The more you do the Torah this way, so you see a great tzaddik. I don't know if you ever see a picture of the Baba Sali, that his eyes, you couldn't even look in his eyes. They tried to take a picture of him, and his eyes were blurry. You ever see a picture like that? Yeah, it's amazing. Because he's so holy. He used to cover his eyes. He used to wear a hood, because if you look in his face, his eyes were like. They weren't like eyes that see like we see. They were eyes that see like everything looks like Hashem to him. Do you know what I mean? It's like everything is like vibrating. I can't even explain. It's not for me to explain. Who am I to explain? Everybody has to discover for themselves. But when a person sees the Kedusha and everything is revealed, it's a different world. It's like, imagine you have eyes, nose, mouth, and then you have something else. We wear the tefillin over here. There's something over here in your brain that sees in a different way if you develop it.
This is why you wear
the tefillin over here. In other religions, halavai, not to speak about anybody else, they also identified this as a special area. So when we do these things, that's why we have all of the coverings. We cover ourselves up, meaning we cover our egos, we cover our desires, and Hashem reveals His desire. This is the method. This is what Torah mitzvos is, and we don't tell people this because it took so many years of development that people, if you told somebody that 200 years ago, they would make a very big mishmash in their head. But now Mashiach is coming, and the world is very sophisticated, and we have all computers, and we have all these things, and everybody's so smart with everything, and so now it's time. It's coming very close to the time that Mashiach is going to be here, meaning Mashiach as a person, but also Mashiach as inside of you. Right? There's a Beit HaMikdash in Shemayim, and there's a Beit HaMikdash in your heart, meaning that when you organize your heart in the right way, this becomes a vessel for feeling Hashem. It's making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to start reading from the beginning of this thing without saying anything, and we explained that the language is a little bit clunky because the way the Bal Ha Sulam is writing, he's writing with things that we don't really understand, the energies of the words you choose, just like in the Chumash, right? You have the words, and it's written, it has meanings that we don't even understand. Each letter is meanings, right? So the language is a little bit strange, but I'm just going to read it, and we should understand that we're not trying to understand every fact. That's good, but on top of the facts, we should be thinking, this is when we start to learn how to learn Zohar, we should be thinking that upstairs there's souls that want to give something to us. What do they want to give to us? They want to give us the ability to transcend our egos, to step out of our selfishness. The problem is they can't give it to us unless we know how to receive it, until we receive it for the right reasons. So imagine there's a great rabbi and he wants to tell you a great secret, but he sees that you're not ready to understand the secret, so he doesn't tell you. So when we prepare ourselves properly, when we read the Zohar and we read any Kabbalistic text, what we should be thinking is, I want to become like you. I want to become a giver. I want to step outside myself. I want to reveal all the beauty in the world. I want to reveal the unity. I want to have a relationship with everything, with all the people and all the animals and all the creatures. And through that, I want to have a connection to Hashem and reveal Hashem in a real way. When you say that, instead of saying I want to be rich, I want to be healthy, I want to be married, if you say that, it doesn't work. But if you think like that, if you feel like that, you train yourself to feel like when you hear the words, then you're going to start to feel the energy that's inside the words. Love thy friend as thyself. Rabbi Akiva says, this is the great rule in the Torah. This statement of our sages demands explanation. The word klal, collective, indicates a sum of details that, when put together, form the above collective. Thus, when we say about the mitzvah, love thy friend as thyself, that is the great klal, the great collective in the Torah. We must understand that the rest of the 612 mitzvos in the Torah, with all their interpretations, are no more and no less than the sum of the details inserted and contained in that single mitzvah, love thy friend as thyself. This is quite perplexing, because you can say this regarding mitzvah between man and man, but how can you say that single mitzvah contains all the mitzvahs between man and Hashem, and God, the Creator, which are the essence of the vast majority of the laws? And if we can still strain to find some way to reconcile these words, there comes before us a second saying, even more conspicuous, about a convert who came to Hillel, it says in the Gemara, Shabbos 31, and told him, teach me the whole of the Torah while I stand on one leg. And he, Rav Hillel, replied, anything that you hate, do not do to your friend. The translation of love thy friend as thyself. And the rest is its commentary. Now go and study. Here before us is a clear law that in all the 612 mitzvos and in all the writings of the Torah, there is none that is preferred to the mitzvah, love thy friend as thyself. This is because they only aim to interpret and allow us to keep the mitzvah of loving others properly, since he, Rav Hillel, specifically said, the rest is its commentary. Go study. This means that the rest of the Torah is interpretations of that one mitzvah, that the mitzvah to love your friend as yourself could not be completed were it not for them. Before we delve into the heart of the matter, we must observe that the mitzvah, since we are commanded, love thy friend as thyself, the word thyself tells us, love your friend to the same extent you love yourself, not one bit less. In other words, you must constantly and vigilantly satisfy the needs of every person in the Israeli nation, no less than you are always vigilant to satisfy your own needs. This is utterly impossible, for not many can satisfy their own needs during their daily work. So how can you tell them to work to satisfy the wishes of the entire nation? And we couldn't possibly think that the Torah exaggerates, for it warns us not to add or subtract, indicating that these words and laws were given with utter precision. And if this is still not enough for you, I will tell you that the simple explanation of that mitzvah of loving your fellow person is even harsher, for we must put the needs of our friend before our own. It is as our sages wrote in Kedushin 20, page 20, regarding the verse, because he is happy with thee, in Deuteronomy 15:16, regarding the Hebrew slave, when sometimes he has but one pillow, if he lies on it himself and does not give it to his slave, he does not observe, because he is happy with thee. And he is lying on a pillow and the slave on the ground, and if he does not lie on it and does not give it to the slave as well, it is a sodomite rule. It turns out that against his will he must give to his slave while the master himself lies on the ground. So it's time to stop? Okay, I'll just finish up with just that last paragraph was a little bit complicated. He's saying that if you don't believe me by telling me that the Torah is extremely serious about you having to love other people the same as much as you love yourself, if you think that it's an exaggeration, I'll bring you another proof. And he brings another proof, and he says, if you have a slave, a Jewish slave, and let's not go into the whole thing about slavery because it doesn't mean exactly what we think it means today, but let's not go into it. If you have somebody who works for you and they don't have a pillow and you have a pillow, you have to give it to them. Somebody lower than you, somebody who's working for you, you have to give them something. So what the Bal Ha Sulam is telling you is, we're not kidding around. The Torah is telling you that you have to love everybody more than you love yourself, and that it's possible, and that's what the Torah is for. Okay, we're going to stop here. Good class?
Very good.
Okay, amazing.